Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world, and a very warm welcome to the second series of advisory sessions of 2021 that are hosted by Evosys. These sessions focus on delivering and updating you on new features and functionalities in each of the Oracle quarterly releases. My name is Chris Gomez and I'm an account director here at Evosys, and I'm based out of the UK. I understand that we have a number of new first-time attendees joining us, and it's great to have you join us today, so welcome. We hope you find these sessions as useful as many of our regular attendees who have joined us today too. And for those of you that have joined us again, welcome back. Today I'm your host for this session, and I'm delighted to be joined by my colleague Ankita Patel, who works in our HCM Centre of Excellence team and will be taking us through the HR Helpdesk and recruiting updates in 21B. Ankita has a Master's in Human Resource and works in the HCM Centre of Excellence team with a focus on the UK region. And she'll be taking us through the hot topics and everything you need to know about the main features of this release. And this session today is planned for 60 minutes, but we'll ensure that we leave time for questions, as always, at the end. And depending on the types of questions, we may take some of those questions throughout. So please do use the questions section that you've got there on the screens in front of you to start asking any questions that you may have as we go through those features. And as before, we will make an extended PowerPoint available to you at the end of this session, including the recording, to give you the opportunity to go through all of the features in your own time. So by means of an agenda, we'd like to cover four main areas with you today. So firstly, I'm going to give you a quick run through of our feature summary template that we use. And then we're going to move on to the analysis of the latest release, providing an insight into the new available features, as well as highlighting things to consider when deploying them. And this will also cover any known issues that you need to consider as part of the release. And Ankita will take us through these in around 30 to 40 minutes. And after the session, we'll recap on the three main technologies that we spoke about for those of you that joined us for the 21A session, those technologies that we spoke about in those sessions. And today's focus will be on analytics. And Ankita will talk us through how our value-based analytics that we've developed helps our customers that have deployed this with challenges that you and your fellow colleagues in the HCM world may face on a regular basis. And we'll then look to close the webinar with any sort of follow-up questions that you may have at the end. But as I said, please do ask any questions throughout the webinar in the chat option, and we'll look to answer them as we can. Okay, so moving on to the first section. The way we present the information regarding each feature is going to be summarized on screen for you now. I am conscious that some of you may be familiar with this slide now, and you may have seen it in another 21B webinar that we've covered already, or from previous sessions. But please do use this as a reminder whilst I take our new guests that have joined us today through it. Okay, so each slide includes the name of the feature along with a short description of the release to better inform you and give you a brief on what the feature is for. We include a business benefit section to help you understand how advantageous it might be to your organization with the outcomes it could give you. On the right-hand side, we then include a high-level impact analysis with four main areas. So firstly, you have the impact level. A low means no large-scale impact, so regression testing is not really required or can even be ignored, whereas a high would be the complete and utter opposite of that. Does a feature need to be enabled, or will it just appear post the upgrade? How about configuration? Again, we highlight that too as part of the feature summary, because obviously, clearly, an update that needs configuration needs more time for planning. And then finally, we include a quick win gauge, which takes into account the level of effort and time required to get the actual feature set up. So, without further ado, Ankita, can I introduce you into the session now to ask you to actually take us through what to expect from the 21B release?
Thank you, Chris. So we'll move to the new features. So first we'll move to the Evosys analysis. So yeah, as per our analysis, we have divided the new features in quick wins and the rest. So in total, we have 26 new features, which includes HR help desk as well as recruiting new features. So based on our analysis, we have divided them like we have total 19 quick wins with us and 7 the rest features which are like important, but we need some forward configuration for those features. So moving forward to the next slide. So we have divided this into 4 portions. So we'll first go to the new features, quick wins, default with no configurations. So for this features, we don't need any configuration. It is by default available to us. Moving forward to the first and foremost new feature of 21B we have with us is enhanced job application progress bar. So the job application progress bar is enhanced to give better information to the external candidates. So this feature will help the candidate to know that at which step he or she currently is and how many steps are remaining for him or to complete. So basically, we'll get this screen on our instance, and we'll see that how does this look. So let us understand this with an example. When a candidate is applying for job application, so in the meanwhile, due to some issues, maybe he stuck in the job application, and then he may try to reach out to HR every time that how many steps are remaining before for me. So after this feature came into existence, we don't need to bother the HRs. We just have to use this enhanced job application progress bar. So it will tell us that how many steps are with us to complete the job application. And yes, the business benefit for this is like we get more engaging candidate experience for our external candidates. And yes, it streamlines our process. So moving forward to the next feature, which is limited number of miscellaneous attachments. So as before, there are no restrictions for the file types on miscellaneous document block before 21B. But after this 21B came into existence, we'll have this limitations on the attachments we can attach on miscellaneous document block. So now we can attach only 10 attachments. So what was happening that whenever a candidate was attaching documents, they were attaching more than 10 or more than 10 documents. So the recruiters were finding it difficult to screen out like which are the required documents for the requisition and not. So this feature will help the recruiter to screen out the documents which are helpful to us, as they will attach only 10 documents, required documents only. So when a candidate attempts to add more than 10, they will get an error message in their screen and the upload will be blocked. So this process will improve their application submission process, and yes, this is quick win for us. Moving forward to the next feature, which is automatically confirm completed job application. So yes, this is very important feature. As we can see this in 21B, completed job applications are now confirmed automatically with the enhanced send notification to draft applications. So basically this schedule process is updated with these automatically confirmed completed job applications. So the process is not only sending draft job application notifications to the candidate, it is also used for confirming the completed job applications that were interrupted due to some reasons, during the application process. So, for example, when a candidate might have inadvertently closed the browser. So because of some reason, if the browser is closed or might be they have some network issues, so the job application, the process will mark the application as completed and notify the candidate that the system successfully received all the job application data. And if the job application data was incomplete or not completely received by the system, this process will not create a job application on the behalf of that candidate. And it will treat this interaction or this transaction as an abandoned job application. So this feature elevates the risk of having completed but not confirmed job applications within our systems. So confirmed job application can be progressed in candidate selection process, which we have configured, and this helps business to get only confirmed job applications within us. So yes, moving forward to the next new feature, which is removal of candidates search for hiring manager role. So now the candidate search is removed from the default hiring manager role. So in the delivered abstract role of hiring manager, the privilege called search for candidate is removed now because some of the users do not really want the candidate search for their role. So in order to remove this or restrict this role, the data security profile they have to use every time. So in upcoming feature 21B, this feature will reduce the complexity and unnecessary configuration for the seeded hiring manager role. So basically, what this feature will does for us is it will reduce the complexity of having to define the security profile, candidate security profile for the hiring manager role now, and remove the candidate search access, which is more commonly used by recruiters now. So yes, this is business enhancement for us. And of course, yes, this is quick win for us. So moving forward to the next feature, which is a delayed processing of automated actions at the beginning of candidate selection process. So there are some delayed processes which are automated at the beginning of candidate selection processes. So some automated actions are put at the very beginning of candidate selection process, which are used for candidates applying through an external career site, are now performed after a small delay so that the creation of job application is completely before performing the actions. So the actions are put in a queue for a while, and then the schedule processes are run. So the schedule processes perform recruiting candidate selection process, and after this schedule process is run, the actions are performed respectively. So basically, when a candidate applies for a requisition, some initial phases and states are triggered. And if all the automated actions with one or the other actions are there, there is a delay in processing of those actions for the candidate. So the candidate have to wait. But with this new feature, the candidate don't have to wait for a long time. This feature is mostly applicable to those who use all the automated actions in the starting phases of their candidate selection process. So this feature delays applies to action configured in initial phase and state of job application, except the move to HR actions, which are the last phase of any candidate selection process. So yes, this saves a lot of time for the HR team to work on it, and yes, it is easy to use. So moving forward to the next feature, which is manage job requisition interview schedule before job formatting. So you can now create interview schedule before the job application is in job formatting phase. So define interview schedule for requisition in draft phase. So you can now define the interview schedule for any of the job requisitions in the draft phase using the new defined interview schedule action. So this is the actions which is available with us in the screen for the requisition list. So this action will be available for the requisition in draft phase and all other phase, and this will have the action define interview schedule. So you will have to just enable, click on this and start creating your interview schedules. So a similar way, you can create your interview schedules for requisitions in the approval phase also. So when interview is defined before the approval, the hiring team will have the idea regarding the interview happening on what time and date, and the recruiter will not have to wait after the approval of any job applications for the interviewers to give that availability regarding the interview. So this helps this helps the recruiter to define the interviews beforehand. So yes, this is very useful feature for us also. And for interview schedules for requisitions in the approval phase, the for requisitions and approval phase, you can use the new define interview schedule actions available with us. So you can also define interview schedules from within the requisitions interview tab only. So the interview schedule can be created earlier and requisitions are fully ready when they are approved. So after approval, we don't have to wait for the approvers to approve those interview schedules and everything. So yes, this saves a lot of time for us or for the recruiter to go along with the requisitions. So yes, moving forward to the next feature. So this feature is related to HR help desk, and yeah, the customers using HR help desk. This is very interesting feature for them, which is define data security policy based on access group. So earlier, so we are using data security policies, but now we will be using the data security policy based on access group. So user can define access group based on data security policies on the service request, and also define additional data security policy based on access group also. So this predefined data security policies will continue to be available with the users, but now they can have access group also along with the data security policies. So access group are an alternative way of granting data permissions to users as compared to the SQL based query. So it must be difficult for the users to use SQL based queries. So instead of creating those security policies using SQL, what user can do is they just can use object sharing rules in sales and service access management UI to define their visibility and customize user visibility criteria. So this is the business benefit of this new feature of HR help desk, and yes, it makes your work easy, and yes, this is quick win for us. So now we'll move forward. So yes, we have completed the default without no configuration. Now we'll move to the new features which says we need somewhat of configurations in those features. So the first feature for this is offer salary can vary based on compensation zone. So using compensation zone based salary range differentials in candidate job offers. So selecting the work location for the candidate's assignment and desired salary basis cause cause the appropriate compensation zone to be identified and appropriate differentials to be applied. So this helps the offer team to generate and allocate the compensation. So the candidate based on other details. So previously, what was happening? The criteria was could be the location, business unit, or location plus business unit. But now, what Oracle has does is Oracle has expanded to include the compensation zone as well when creating offer salaries. So the salary range and analytical values such as compare ratio related to payroll are recalculated considering the compensation zone differentials. So this information can be based off offer approvals rules, and yes, it also includes in notification which sent to offer approvers. So it will be sent to the offer approvers, to the people who are going to approve the offers. So now recruiters can define and identify in which compensation zone and zone type the candidate belongs to. So yes, with this feature, this feature can help you to streamline your business processes, and also like you can rely on the data which it gives us based on your location or your business unit, the compensation data which it gives us, and also it gives the accurate information to us. So moving forward to the new feature which is related to Oracle Recruiting Cloud only, which is perform global changes from you offers using flow, local and global transfers. So, as an HR specialist, when you process a candidate's job offer into their new work relationship in a new legal employer, the flow, global and local transfer is now being used. So, this flow is used for processing candidates on the page itself, manage job offers. You have the actions, global transfer, and global temporary assignment in the status HR pending manual processes. So, this flow is only used for candidates who have global transfer and global temporary assignments. So, not for the candidates whose offer are in same legal employer as the current assignment, similar to the current assignment. So what will happen is in the page global and local transfer, it is displayed with all the offer relevant values pre-filled by default. So now you don't have to fill the values manually. It will fill automatically. So you can quickly review all those values and just complete candidate's new assignment. So it will save a lot of your time in doing the processes and completing the processes. So now moving forward to the next, we have new features quick win which requires opt-ins. So we'll look into those features. So the first feature for this is show acknowledgement text after candidates accept offers. So yes, this is very interesting feature and useful for business perspective as well, because it will do the processes user friendly, because now candidate can be shown as short text immediately after they accept their job offer. So yes, this is very interesting. It's used to acknowledge the candidate's acceptance or to suggest next step for external candidate and internal candidates as they agree to take a new job. So this text is configured in content library of ORC as job offer, post job offer text. So you can now configure what are the text which you want to show it to your external candidates, and how you want to show it to your candidates. So you can do formatting of the text. So you can use this feature to configure a short acknowledgement and quick instructions to candidate who just decided to accept a job offer in your company. For an example, if a company wishes to acknowledge the candidate's decision and provide any suggestions, this can be mentioned here right after the candidate's acceptance of their job offer. So like for example, you can say that thank you for accepting the job offer. We are looking forward to work with you, and you can add text as per your business requirements. To subsequent times when the candidate returns to view their accepted job offer letter or download the PDF file of their offer letter, this acknowledgement text is no longer shown to them, so it will be vanished. So this process will streamline the business processes, and yes, it will help to create good employer branding among the external candidates, and yes, it will save a lot of time for the hiring team. So moving forward to the next feature, which is candidate duplicate check-in move to HR. So now as an administrator, what you can do is you can now configure whether or not candidates get checked for duplicates. So as they move to HR phase, so you can check for the candidate of recruiting life cycle, so where they have reached, and you can duplicate check like if there are candidates available or not depending upon the enterprise definition of duplicate. So you must have defined what are the duplicates as per your enterprise definitions. So depending upon how much personal information the candidate from the candidate we have collected, so this new feature is called as duplicate check. Move to HR governs checking external candidates against all the workers and ex-workers to see if there are any potential duplicate candidates available or not, or potential duplicate reports are available or not in the system. So when you use this duplicate check, so we'll understand this with an example. So when you use this duplicate check feature, what this will do is, let's say there is a person named as XYZ, and the gender is, let's say, a female, and national identifier we can assume that it is 12345, and the birth date of that candidate is, let's say, 1st January 1990. So when he is move to HR phase of our candidate selection process, this process will check against all the workers or the ex-workers present in the system if there is any potential duplicate record available or not, and will inform the same to us. So there are three options provided in the recruiting setting for duplicate check and move to HR. So the first one is none. So it says that you can preserve current behavior and never check any candidate for a duplicate record. So you don't need any duplication check. The second one is use person creation duplicate check setting for all the candidates. So you can enable all candidates to be checked, and any duplications, if found, will be based on somewhat the combinations of the candidate name, candidate's date of birth, the gender of candidate, and a national identifier if provided by the candidate as configured in the enterprise setting known as person creation duplicate check, which is already available with us. And the third one is use person creation duplicate check setting only for the candidates with date of birth and national identifier. So you can now decide to check only candidates who provided their date of birth and national identifier while applying to the job. So, in short, this configuration of option provides more granular or small control in adopting the feature. The new feature, the candidate duplicate check in move to HR, to place less burden on users who are responsible for external candidates, which are basically our hiring team. So yes, this new feature gives better control uh, to the recruiting processes, and it will reduce the rework. Lot of rework we need to do, so it will reduce our rework, and it will help us to clarify the business processes regarding the recruitment. So yes, the impact level of this feature is very high. Like using this feature, it will definitely give a business advantage for the users to in their system. Yes. Now we'll move to the next feature, which is configure interview schedules using transaction design studio. So as an administrator, you can use the transaction design studio to configure which sections and fields are visible, or you want to make them visible or not while creating interview schedules. Also, you can choose option or mandatory while creating these actions. So the new action which is available to us is create interview schedule. So here you, depending upon your business requirements or your needs, you can just do whatever the configuration you want to do using a sandbox, and in that sandbox you need to go to transaction design studio. So this new feature simplifies the interview schedule creation process. So by hiding the sections and fields that can be defaulted from interview schedule templates, and it will ensure important information is provided by marking those fields as required. So it gives customization and it simplifies the processes. So when you configure this in Design Studio, you can create rule based on recruiting type, role, or country, depending upon your requirements and business needs. So this will help in hiring or recruitment processes within your organizations. So yes, like this feature is also important aspects to see. So we'll move to the next feature now, which is manually initiate and cancel screening services. So this feature basically says that you can manually initiate and cancel screening services in your recruiting ORC without having to move candidate in candidate selection process. So yes, this is also an interesting feature of 21B, which allows you to manually initiate or cancel some of the screening services within the system. So this feature is more focused on the screening services, which helps the users to initiate or cancel any request. Basically, what it does is, suppose for first we will understand for initiating any service request. So as you can see in the screenshot attached here, initiate request and stop request. So we'll go through it one by one. So first one is initiating request. So just go to the screening tab in the requisition in the instance, and you will select initiate request, and this will be like useful for you. So what does this will do is, this will help you to manage unlock or exception processes without having to move candidate in the selection process. And for canceling, same, you have to go to this screening tab in the requisition field. So what this will do is, this will allow you to merge candidate right away in the process and prevent undesired delays while processing duplicate checks. So this will help you. So if you want to hire any candidate on an immediate basis, so if you just do this drop request for screening services, this will allow you to hire the candidate without like preventing undesired delays in your processing the duplicate check candidates. So yes, this is easy to use, and the impact level is also medium. So yeah, this feature is also helpful for the customers who are using ORC. So we will move to the next feature now. So this feature is related to HR help desk. And yeah, from now there are some of the features related to HR help desk. So this feature override coverage time zone on a milestone using the time zone of assigned to resource. So what this feature basically says is, this is for the companies with agents supporting customers across time zones. So if the company is working on different time zones, so this feature or this new feature of 21B is very useful for them, because now what the client can do is, they can you can set an override on the milestones, configure that calculate milestones due to data based on the time zone of agent assigned to that SR. Let us understand this feature with an example. So if a SR or service request is raised based on let's say CET time zone, but the agent who is giving solution is working on let's say India time zone, IST time zone. So the milestone for that service request uh, will be calculated based on India time zone, which is IST, because the agent is working from IST time zone. As the agent is working for the same time zone, the milestone will be calculated based on the time zone of agent. So what this will does is this will make it easier to assign milestone due dates to global resources and avoid setting up multiple coverages, calendars, and grouping script to support the scenarios. So yes, this is also important because us at what sometimes at times the time zone or the milestones differ according to the time zone. So yes, it is easy for use and it saves a lot of time for the agents working on that SRs or service request. So, yeah, this is quick win for us and need somewhat of enablement. We'll move to the next feature, which is again related to HR helpdesk only. So this feature is view images and logos inline in inbound emails. So you can now view images and logo inline within the body of the service request message. So while not capturing inline images as regular service request attachment, so it will capture it as the regular service attachments, but this will let you view only regular attachments and not see the redundant or the duplicate images such as logos or inlines images in the SR service request attachment centers sections. So this feature basically it does is the duplicate or redundant images are not attached for you in the service request. So it saves your lot of time because you don't have to go to all the images one by one and see what are the required images for you or not. So just limit the list of attachment you see on the service request to the actual attachment. So the if let's say if the actual attachment is 15 and if there are some logos or inline images also attached to that service request. So what this feature will does is this will remove that all those redundant images that were attached to inbound emails and it will give you the less number of attachment number, the inline images that are less meaningful to the content of service issues, such as logos in the sender signatures. So, which is not useful for the service request. So, this aren't included in the service request attachments. So, what this feature will do is this will streamline the business processes and it will make reliable attachment documents to us. Yes, this is quick win for us. So again, we'll move to the next feature, which is add all contacts and team members to the SR message recipients. So by using add contacts and team actions to reply to all contact and resources of the service request. When you compose a response to service request message, this actions is visible to you. So only you have to compose a response privilege. So basically you need a privilege which is compose response and then you can use this feature within your system. So when responding to the customers, if you want to include all the contacts and team members of the service request, so like there are 4 or 5 contacts and team, all the team members, like let's say 7 and 8 of the request are available. So the notification in the notification we can add all of them. So this is available as a single click action. So you don't have to select all the contact members and all the team members one by one. So it will reduce your work load and it will reduce your manual efforts to do that work. So and make your work easier. So we'll go to the next feature, which is related to HR help desk as well, which is run processes through action plans. So yes, developers and integrators will have a simple mechanism to create and register process cloud processes within engagement cloud app. action plans. So yeah, this is also an interesting feature of HR Helpdesk, where agents can make use of these advanced processes for automation, system integrations, and user workflow. So for this feature, if you want to use this feature, as this says that you need to enable, yes, you need to enable, you need to have B2B service administrator or TCS administrator role within you to have the this feature advantages of these features. And yes, this makes your process very simple. Again, we'll move to the next feature, which is permit SR contexts that are not related to primary SR contexts. So as the name suggests, uh, we have removed the built-in validations that requires the SR accounts or service accounts and the service request primary contact to be interrelated. So now they don't need to be interrelated. So the permit, the primary and secondary contact on a service request belong to multiple accounts or contacts with no account or both. So now you can permit your contact for a particular service request that are not related to the main service account. So yes, this will give information to all the people who want to have knowledge regarding the service request created. So this option can help accommodate service situations such as when a single SR involves contact from multiple subsidiaries of a parent company. So yes, this will make your work easier and it can be easily managed within our systems. And yes, the next feature for this is follow service request to receive notifications. So as you can see, there is we need to follow the service request to receive notification. So internal users can choose to follow service specific service request when they are using the actions on the service request detail page. So this feature is helpful for the users who want to receive update about specific service requests or which are very or the service requests which are relevant to them. So let us understand this feature as an example. So for suppose sales executive wants to have information regarding the customer feedback for a particular or you can say for a new product in their company. So what he or she can do is just follow the SR or the service request to notification to receive notification. So this sales executive will receive all the notifications regarding this service request of new product and he will be updated regarding all the new notifications or the informations. So the follower will receive all the notifications of service request object that are designated for delivery to followers. If the followers decides he or she no longer wants to receive notification of a particular SR, the SR can unfollow, the user can unfollow the service request. So till then they have to follow and after if they think that their work is done and they don't need any updates on the regarding feature, they can just unfollow the service request. So to define this type of notifications, the author of notification preference rule can select follower as a type of recipient for service request notifications. So note that to receive the notifications, follower must be set up as resource. If they are not set up as resource, they will not receive the notifications. So this feature lets any of the user who has the permission to view a service request to follow that record for the purpose of receiving notifications. So yes, this gives a business benefit of more flexibility towards the control of notifications. So you can control notifications within yourselves. So yeah, moving forward.
Can I just interrupt you there, Nikita?
Yeah.
Thank you very much so far for everything that you've that you've discussed, but there's a couple of questions that it may be worth just covering at this stage, and it's specifically around the duplicate checking. One of our attendees has mentioned that the duplicate checking on their environment is enabled, and it's been reported that there's a bug on the duplicate check. Is there any bug fixes that we know in the 21B release around duplicate checking?
Okay. Thank you, Chris, for this asking these questions. So regarding duplicate check, and if there is bug in the duplicate check feature, what we can do is we can just check, or we can just take help from Oracle, as now, like, we don't have this time to discuss this feature, but you can definitely contact the support team of Evosys, and will try to help you out in this feature duplicate check regarding your bug. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And there's another question here, that when a duplicate check is done, can the recruiter also merge the candidate with a potential match?
Sorry.
So once the duplicate check is done, can the recruiter also merge the candidate with a potential match?
Okay. Okay. This is also a good question. So for these questions, like, we need to try it on the system, and we'll get back to you on these questions again.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll record the person that's actually asked the question. So thank you very much for asking that, and we'll come back to you and follow up post the webinar with a response to that. That's the question so far. Over to you, Antigua, again.
Okay. So now we'll move to the new features, which includes the REST. As we'll look into these features fast, because there are a lot of the REST features, and yes, these features are very important if you see from the business perspective. But yes, you need to invest a lot of time in enabling or configuring these features on your system or on your environment. So yeah, we'll look into those features fast. So the first one is application flow information available in fast formulas for all requests for information status. So yes, as you can see, the impact level is very high. So this enhancement allows to build the fast formulas to the requisition. So basically, it has three statuses. So the first status, it is ORA trigger. So when you want some additional information from a candidate, then you can send request for information to that candidate, and in that case, ORA triggered status will be triggered, which means which means basically that you are waiting for the information from the candidate to send back to us. And the second status is ORA submitted. So when candidate submits the information in the application, the status changes to submitted, ORA submitted. And the third one is ORA not required. So when all the information in the request information flow was already provided by the candidate, so will receive the status of ORA not triggered. And yes, two database items were not giving the value when request for information status ORA triggered and ORA not required was done. So currently with 21B, what you can do is you can now retrieve the application for information even if the request for information has not been submitted by the candidate. So you can retrieve the information. So yes, this is very useful from the business perspective, because it will help the recruiter or the hiring team to work on those features faster. So moving to the next feature, which is LinkedIn connections. So the first and foremost requirement for this feature to enable is you need required license for enabling LinkedIn connections within your system. So LinkedIn connection is installed on your career site, so which allows the candidate to view their connections specific to a company and to interact with their connections by sending them messages to learn more about the company or to get recommendations and referrals. So basically, candidates can just have a conversation with the existing employees regarding the company, their culture, and how does the company function. So it will increase the employer branding of your company as well. So when a candidate access your career site, they must first sign into LinkedIn with their user credentials, and then they can send their connections who work at the company and just have a conversation with them. Or if the candidate doesn't have any connections in LinkedIn regarding the company, so what they can do is they can just view those employees who work at the company, and they can have connection with them, and they can see what are the things that are going on. So as you can see in the screenshot, we have 4 connections for the candidates who has applied. So he has 4 connections, and you can see this kind of thing in your system. So yes, this feature will uh, reduce the time, and also it will streamline your business processes. As you can see, the impact level is high for this feature. So this feature will improve your employer branding, and it will interact, or it will attract more candidates to apply to your company for the specific positions which are in the requisitions. So we'll move to the next feature, which is autocomplete rules for recruiting business objects. So this 21B new feature enhances the user experience by authoring new rules for recruiters, recruiting business objects with more capabilities. So what you can do is you can define autocomplete rules for this recruiting business object. So you can now define these rules based on your interview locations. So you can default your interview location. Like if you are going to have in-person interview, you can just default it by your primary work location, just a suggestion, or for an online interview. So nowadays, what all of us or all the companies is doing is having online interviews because of the current situation. So they can just default the web conference detail for interview. So this will improve the user productivity, and it will save time from the users who are scheduling the interviews. Similar with interview participants. So by defaulting the interview participants based on some rules, so as an example, you can default the name of hiring manager, or you can just default hiring manager as an interview participant, or confirming that the hiring manager is included as a participant by authoring a validation rule. So if you default the hiring manager in the interview participants, you don't have to add again and again. And coming to the next, job offer. So by building rules to validate the start date and rules to default and validate assignments information, such as business unit or position of your the requisition, or some of the jobs, grades, and departments, location, salary, and many more objects can be included. So you can just default offer letter template based on rules driven by recruiting type, work structures, and employment type for all the candidates, internal as well as externals. So as you can see, that interview location, interview participant, and job offers are included now. So this will improve your user productivity, and it will save your time. And also the impact level of this feature is also very high. So like we must recommend you to use those features. And now we'll move to the next feature, which is also very interesting feature, which is find similar candidate. So as the name suggests, find similar candidate, you can now find similar candidates available in your system. So what Oracle has given us is similar candidates are found using artificial intelligence. So you can now see the similar maximum of 30 similar candidate based on your search. So we'll move faster as we are running out of time. So skill recommendations for candidates. So what Oracle has given us is you can get the skill recommendations for the candidate applying. So if someone is applying for, let's say, AI architect, so he or she will be having lots of suggestions. Moving to the next, automatically move job application based on interview status. So the job applications based on interview status will be automatically moved in the next phase and state as you move forward. And the next one is automatically extend job offer. So now you can extend job offer automatically to the candidates.
Many thanks for that. Conscious of time, but thank you for taking us through. There's obviously lots and lots and lots of features to think about in this 21 B release. So why don't we now just spend the last few minutes talking about the innovative technologies that we were looking to cover today with you. Just bear with me. Excuse the Just to recap on what we discussed in the last webinar for 21A and how other technologies can help not only facilitate the release cycle, but also how you can drive further success from your Oracle applications, and in this instance from an HCM perspective. For those of you that joined us, we spoke about how Evosys has leveraged some technology and created a series of packages across 3 distinct areas. So RPA, which stands for Robotic Process Automation, Analytics, and Chatbot. And with RPA, we spoke about how we can help our customers automate things like regression testing, for example, that's carried out for each quarterly cycle. Have a think about how much time that actually consumes for you and your wider teams. But so what we've done is we've actually created some of those test scripts to actually run automatically. But not only that, we also looked at how we can save time with automating business processes too. From an analytics perspective, we spoke about how value-based analytics as a solution can be overlaid on the existing analytics that come as part of Oracle Cloud, and how it actually provides key information around 4 key areas. So process optimization and how we help to identify processes that can be optimized or even automated. System adoption, where we can help to identify areas and reasons for low adoption rates, for example, and in turn provide recommendations on changes to improve those. And then things like information output, where we look to see what requirements you and your teams have around system data and provide greater visibility to that data, and also some, any trends within that data. And then finally, audit and compliance that looks at regulations and segregations of duties, as well as ensuring compliance with internal SLAs. And then finally, chatbots or digital assistants, as some of you may know them, and how they can be used to improve the overall user experience. And for example, be used, let's say, to action some things around system adoption to help with that, improving that system adoption. So for today, and as a result of the poll that we carried out in 21A, or the 21A advisory session, we're going to cover a little bit about analytics and specifically about our VBA solution. I had already covered RPA in 21A, and we're going to look to cover a bit more about chatbots or digital assistants in 21C. So Ankita, could you just take us through how value-based analytics, or VBA as we know it, helps our customers drive greater efficiencies?
Yes, sure, Chris. So we'll move to the next. So we'll move to this value-based analytics. So VBA is management reporting tool, which we have built through OTBI and BI reports. So the problem was that organizations that buy the system with a business benefit in mind, keeping in mind, but fails to measure it once the system is being used, and they just do the day-to-day HR processes within their organization. So we have provided a solution, the value-based analytics. So this is a tool which help or which gives the focus to measure and monitor the return on investment for which the system or transformation was made. So this enables us to move from reactive mode to proactive mode in the business processes, and also we have 340 plus pre-built analysis available in the system, including ERP, SCM, and HCM, and 140 plus pre-built KPIs. So we'll look into those features. So today we are mainly focusing on recruiting cloud. So for recruiting cloud, it has recruiting source analysis. So basically, what recruiting source analysis is, it will tell you what percentage of your overall hires entered your pipeline from each recruiting channels or source like job boards, referrals, direct sourcing, etc. So in other words, it answers our question that like whether where do my hire come from. So it will give us the source from where our candidates are coming from. And for the second, recruiting cycle time, so it includes average time to hire and offer acceptance rate. So what average time to hire is, this will give you how quickly a company can select and hire the best candidate. So in short, it gives us the details regarding how many days your HR team will need to fill a open requisition. So we have attached a video as well for your reference, but due to short of time, will not go through the video. But I highly recommend you to just visit the video we have attached for VBA. And yes, thank you so much. Over to you, Chris.
That's great, Ankita, and thank you very much for being mindful of time. I am conscious that we are running slightly over, but yes, as Ankita said, it's well worthwhile actually watching the video. We are going to provide you with these slides so that you can actually go ahead and watch the video post the session. Just before we close, for those of you that can, we'd just like to run a very quick poll, if we may. Obviously, we've heard a lot from Ankita today about some of the new features, and we just would be keen to know which of the features or which feature in itself you find is going to be the most popular, the most relevant, or the most important in terms of this next release for your organisation. So I'm just launching a quick poll now. If I could ask you to just very quickly provide us with an answer to that. Again, just conscious of time, I'm not going to keep the poll open for too long. It'd be really good to just get your view on. Okay, last few seconds. And I'm just going to close off the poll now. So thank you very much for those of you that actually voted. I'll share the results with you. It looks to see that the duplicate checking process is the more popular one. So thanks again for everyone who voted. So we covered a couple of the questions that have already been asked, and it doesn't appear to be that there's any more questions. So I am going to move us on to the final stage of the webinar now. Which effectively is just a closing note to thank you for attending the session, and just to tell you what happens next, which is we send the presentation onto you as well as the session recording for you to consume again at your own leisure. And we also provide a feedback form. These sessions are for you, so please do fill in that form for us so that we can continue to improve these sessions for you. If you want to talk to us about anything that we cover today, in particular around any of the innovative technology that we're using, please do reach out to your project manager or email us at business@evosysglobal.com, and we'll be more than happy to talk to you further with those. On the right-hand side, just as a bit of a heads up, this is the 6th session that we've run so far for 21B. There is one more session that we're running tomorrow, which is for workforce management and global payroll. So for you or for any of your colleagues that may be interested in that, there is still time to register to join us tomorrow at the same time as today. And then finally, we do have a session on May the 4th around our next generation managed services solutions, and that's specifically focusing on the application managed service side. So it's not around the Oracle technology, like databases and things like that. It's around how Evosys can actually help in supporting the Oracle cloud applications. So it's a really good session that I'll be hosting with one of my colleagues, Kathy Gallagher from the States. So yeah, please do join us if that's something that you're interested in knowing more about. But without further ado, thank you all very much indeed for joining us. We hope to see you at one of the next few sessions, but if we don't see you at the next session, please do join us for the 21C webinar that will focus on Helpdesk again and recruiting. So once again, have a lovely day and stay safe.